Okay? When we go to Hinduism, and you speak to a Hindu who is intelligent, who is intellect, who is educated, and you ask him about his belief in God, he will tell you, I believe in one God. How can we know Hindus, they have so many idols. Every house has its own idol and they're worshipping the idol. How you can tell me? He said, no. I believe in one God. But God becomes present, He becomes manifest within His creation, in the idols, the animals, but I believe in one. And when you go around the world, to all of the various different religions, you will find that though people may be worshipping stones and trees and all kinds of things, in the very end, you will find that they believe in one supreme being, one God who is over all of the other gods. So they all share this in common. What Islam teaches is that when Adam, the first man, came to earth, when he was placed on earth by God, created of the earth, his wife Eve was created from him, they were given the message that God was one. And they taught this to their children. Their children taught it to the next generation. And the teaching that God was one was the basics of the teachings of the descendants of Adam from his time as time went on. However, at different points in time, people introduced different ideas concerning the one God. They put intermediaries between themselves and God, or they began to conceive and to understand God in terms of the creation around them. And in this way, the basic idea of the one God now got modified and changed. What God did is that He sent prophets to the people around the earth at various times, calling them back to the worship of the one God. Because what happened is that when people put intermediaries between themselves and God, then they began to worship the intermediaries instead of God. And when they began to understand God in terms of His creation, then they began to worship God's creation instead of God. So it was necessary that God sent prophets to call people back to the worship of the one true God, and not to worship His creation, or to worship intermediaries between Him and His creation. This was the message of the prophet, who came to the people, mankind, down through the ages. Those that are mentioned in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, as well as those which are not. There were many other prophets who were sent to countries and to places that we don't know about today. However, their teachings have remained amongst the people, though it has been changed to some degree. But this is why you find in every religion that there are basic teachings which call people to good. People could say, all the religions, basically, they're all the same in the sense that they all call people to do good things. Don't do these bad things, and do these good things. This is common in all of the religions. And this is part of the message which was brought by the prophets that came to the people in earlier times. However, the knowledge of who those prophets are has been lost now, and the concept that the people have of God has been distorted, but still the idea that there is one supreme God, one supreme being over all, this has remained in the teachings of all the various religions. However, it is only in Islam that the teaching concerning the one God remains totally pure. It has not been distorted or changed in any way. It has remained totally pure, in the sense that one God means exactly what it says. One, a God is an object of worship. In Islam, there is only one object of worship. But when you go to all of the other different religions, you will find that they all have in common that though they say there is one supreme being, one true God, ultimately, they all have other gods that they worship. They may consider these other gods to be the one true God also, or to be a manifestation of that God or whatever, but the idea of the one true God now has become modified and changed. When we say in Islam that we believe in one God, we mean one God who is unique in all of his attributes. In the sense that if I say I have one pen, you can have a pen in your pocket too. So I have one pen, but you have one pen. You have one pen. This is not the kind of one that Islam talks about. When Islam talks about one God, it means one of a kind. There are no other gods. There's just one. Unique in all senses. That this God is the creator. Everything besides this God is creation, has been created by the Creator. This God is all-powerful, nothing greater than He. This God is all-knowing, He knows all, and no one knows all but He. This is the one true God that Islam teaches. Now, when we look to understand this in comparison to what other systems hold, we have to understand that when we say one again, we mean one who does not resemble his creation. He's not like his creation. Because once you make God like creation, then you no longer have the one true God. So if you say God gives birth, animals give birth. So when you say God gives birth, or God is born, then you're making God like His creation. Whereas in Islam, the pure teaching, because when we say Islam, we don't mean something which was brought by Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, 1400 years ago and did not exist before. No. We mean what was brought by Adam, what God taught Adam to teach to his descendants, and what he taught all of the prophets. This is Islam. In those teachings, the teachings of Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be on all of them, they taught that God was without beginning, without end. The all-powerful God who was not like His creation. So God, from the Islamic point of view, has no beginning in time. Means He cannot be born. Because if you are born, it means there was a time when you were not. That's what born means. And God had no time when He was not. He always was and always will be. So God is not born, nor does He die. Because if He dies, it means there is a time when He is not. And the creator of the universe, the one who all of the universe depends on, if he dies, then the universe falls apart totally. Because it depends on Him. So He is always. For everything to exist, it only